The race to snatch up Ohio's 66 delegates is on. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alyssa Hansen. Today's Super Tuesday is a battle between, no surprise, Mitt Romney and Rick Santorum. As of yesterday, polls around the state found Santorum slipping in Ohio, leaving him in a near dead heat with Romney. For the latest on the Republican primary race polls in Ohio, WOUB's Katie Dalp is live in Columbus with the numbers. Katie, how are Ohio's numbers looking at this point?
Hi, Alyssa. Even though Ohio has 10 delegates less than Georgia, it's considered the big prize tonight. Ohio's 66 delegates are essential not only for the Republican who wins the state, but for the entire 2012 presidential election itself. The swing state has a history of being closely contested. Back in 2008, President Barack Obama won Ohio over John McCain by a margin of just 4%. This is the first presidential primary affected by the Supreme Court ruling that allowed unlimited funding for candidates through super PACs. Prior to tonight, former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney had picked up 8 victories and former U.S. Pennsylvania Senator has 4 victories under his belt. Looking at the Republican primary, Romney has struggled with connecting with the Midwest states. And according to recent polls here in Ohio, Santorum has surged past Romney. But after Romney's recent win in Michigan, his numbers are increasing, and both Romney and Santorum are about even. But right now, Santorum is actually winning over Romney. Santorum has 217,034 votes, and Romney has 202,595 votes. The other runners, Newt Gingrich has 84,265 votes. John Huntsman has 3,243 votes. Ron Paul has 51,661 votes, and Rick Perry has 4,003 votes. Looking at the U.S. Senate GOP, the winner is Josh Mandel with 214,032 votes. Also running, David Dott had 20,330 votes. Donna Glissman, 49,619 votes. Eric Lamont Gregory, 20,460 votes. And Michael Price had 53,683 votes. And for the Supreme Court race, William O'Neill right now has 165,899 votes, while Fannin Rucker has 63,360 votes. Now, a win here would be huge for either candidate in the presidential race. For Romney, it would be a second chance to prove that he can win a Midwest state. For Santorum, it would prove that he has what it takes to win a big non-caucus state, and it would give him justification for staying in the race. Elsewhere in Ohio, state voters voted on the U.S. Senate, U.S. House, Ohio Senate, and Ohio House. I already talked about the Senate, but to the House, the U.S. House District 15, Pat Lang has 5,478 votes, while Democrat Scott Wharton has 4,791 votes. And on the Republican side, Charles Chope has 3,010 votes, and Steve Stivers is winning with 25,548 votes. In U.S. House District 12, Doug Litt has 1,784 votes, while Democrat Jim Reese has 4,570 votes. And on the Republican side, Pat Tiberi has 19,665 votes, and William Yarbrough has 5,666 votes. In U.S. House District 6, Chaz Aldowitz, the Democrat, has 2,502 votes, while Charlie Wilson has 13,040 votes. And on the Republican side, again, Bill Johnson has 20,142 votes, while Victor Smith has 3,945. In Ohio House 78, in the 78th Ohio House District, Monty Lobb has 1,852 votes, while Ron Hood has 3,723 votes. In Ohio House 93rd District, Bill Dingus has 4,029 votes, Jim Riepenhoff has 1,512 votes, and Ryan Smith has 4,016 votes. In the 94th Ohio House District, Micah Martindale has 2,214 votes, while Charlie Richter has 1,532 votes. And finally, in the 95th Ohio House District, Charlie Daniels has 1,606 votes, Jim Drake has 446, and William Weekly has 390. As you can see, Alyssa, Ohio is going to be a key state tonight.
It looks like it, Katie, and we'll come back to you later in the program. Thank you for that update now. We now turn our attention to the state of Ohio, as Katie was mentioning, which is perhaps under the biggest microscope this evening as Super Tuesday results come in. To help us analyze and break down the most important state issues and races, we're now joined by State House News reporter, plain dealer columnist, and Ohio University professor Tom Sudduth. And Tom, welcome back. You're a regular on News Watch, so we see you every now and then.
It's a privilege to be here.
Well, we're lucky to have you. Now, going into today's primary election, what were some of the main issues and concerns on voters' minds as they were heading to the polls?
I think the overarching issue for voters, regardless of his or her party and background or region, is the economy. We are, if you believe some people, we're in a kind of recovery. On the other hand, the average Ohioan is facing some steeper prices at the grocery store, and he or she is facing, obviously, steeper prices at the gas pump. A lot of Ohioans commute to work, and so therefore the overall economic picture for things like prices and commodities is a challenging one.
We've definitely been hearing a lot about gas prices in Ohio and across the country, definitely in the past few weeks. How will these issues impact the state on a national level?
Well, that's a good question because of the fact that Ohio is in fact kind of bellwether. I mean, no one's gotten to the White House as a Republican without having carried Ohio at any time in the party's history. And so therefore, the mood in the state can kind of inflect or affect Republican campaigns in terms of how it is pitched or how it's framed, it seems to me, economically. There is a belief that even after ideology has been exhausted in Ohio, that elections tend to be about bread and butter. And if these are still challenges for the average Ohioan later on in the year, that means the incumbent, in this case the president, could have some challenges, it seems to me.
Now, Katie was showing us, and she was announcing some of the results that are coming in on a state level. What might some of these decisions that Ohioans made today say about what they might do in November?
That's hard to say. Historically, I did do some checking earlier, and the Republicans, since the modern era primaries, a Republican who wins the Ohio primary has ended up being the party's nominee. Democrats not so, because Mrs. Clinton carried the state 4 years ago, and of course she was not nominated. And so it seems to me that that if Ohio is a very close one thing for Governor Romney and for Senator Santorum, or if Senator Santorum predominates, then Republicans got a lot more campaigning ahead of them for their primary nomination, it seems to me.
All right, well, Tom Sudduth, thank you so much for being here, and we will speak with you later this evening.
Thank you so much.
Turning our focus to races here in Athens, Jeff Maiden and Archie Stanley are vying for the Athens County engineer spot. The two have been tussling in forums before today's election. Maiden says the county roads and bridges are in bad shape and he can do a better job of fixing them. But Stanley defended his record and then attacked Maiden for a business bankruptcy in 2003. And for that, we'll toss it to Athens County reporter Andrew Fowler for the latest on the polls. Andrew, there's a couple races here in Athens. What is the county commissioner race and heated engineer race looking like so far?
That's right, Alyssa. When you say a heated Athens County engineer race, you could not have described it any better. Back in February, Jeff Maiden accused Archie Stanley of bad management, while Stanley accused Maiden of lying. And this was just the opening statements of the candidate forum. Maiden says if he's elected, he'll reorganize the management of Athens County Engineer's office and implement a health insurance plan that would save the county millions of dollars. But Stanley took credit for moving the engineer's depot to a new site outside of the city and for developing new road maintenance agreement in advance of an anticipating drilling boom. Now, Maiden and Stanley are both Democrats running for the Athens County engineer job that Stanley has held for 32 years. But when we look at these numbers, we have unofficial results for Athens. Stanley is actually losing substantially, and this is 56 out of 56 precincts in Athens reporting Stanley actually has only about 17% of the vote, while Jeff Maiden, who is not the incumbent, has about 83% of the vote. Now, if we take a look at the county commissioners, we have two different county commissioner seats that Democrats are running for. The first one, Charlie Atkins, is running against Gary Edwards, and this is a pretty close race. Gary Edwards is shown having about 49% of the vote, and Charlie Atkins is just edging over him with about 50% of the vote. If we go on and take a look at the county commissioner's second seat, we have 5 different Democrats running: Paul Barrett, Robert Boffman, Chris Schmiel, Mike O'Brien, and Mark Sullivan. And it's really a two-man race at this point. Chris Schmiel is shown winning with about just 31% of the vote, and Paul Barrett really not very far behind with 29%. And again, this is unofficial results, 56 of 56 Athens precincts reporting. If you take a look at the tax levy, county EMS replacement, it's a 1 mil tax levy for 5 years. Athens County voters have voted pretty overwhelmingly for that tax levy. About 67% are voting for the tax levy, and about 33% have voted against. Now, if we switch gears and take a look at Meigs County, we take first look at Common Pleas judge. We have Carson Crow, a Republican, running against Republican Christopher Tenolia. And this is, again, the primary race. They'll be facing Democrats in November. It's a pretty close race. About 52% of the vote is going to Carson Crow, and 48% is going to Christopher Tenolia. And again, these are unofficial final results for Meigs County. Take a look at county commissioner's seat. Republicans, 4 Republicans are running, and it's a pretty close race between Republican Randy Smith and Republican Thomas Anderson. And it's showing that Thomas Anderson is just edging over Randy Smith with 41.4% of the vote. Randy Smith has 41.3% of the vote. So there are some really close races in Meigs County, and this one just may be the closest. Is the county prosecuting attorney. 3 different Republicans running, and it's really a 2-man race between James Stanley and Colleen Williams. James Stanley is shown with 41% of the vote, and Colleen Williams is shown with 42% of the vote. Again, another close race. If we take a look at the county sheriff race in Meigs County, Robert Beagle, Republican, running against the Republican Curtis Jones. Robert Beagle showing edging out Jones 52% to 48%. Taking a look at the Middleport tax levy in Meigs, the renewal, it's a 3-mill tax levy. About 53% of voters are voting for that tax levy, while 47% are voting against. The Middleport tax levy additional, which is a 2-mill tax levy for police protection, about 55% is voting for that tax levy and 45% voting against. In Meigs County, we are just seeing some really divided electorate and just some really close races in Meigs County. We're going to switch gears and take a look at some Venn County races. For commissioner, we have Democrat Tom Morgan running against Democrat Jerry Zinn. We have Jerry Zinn winning with 752 votes, really beating Tom Morgan pretty substantially. Tom Morgan garnered about 279 votes. If we take a look at the county prosecutor, we have 2 Democrats running and the 2 Republicans running. In the Democratic race, we have Robert Driscoll beating out Lindsay Ann Blessler Janey with about 991 votes. And on the Republican side, we have Austin Campbell losing to Tricia Kimes-Brown. Tricia Kimes-Brown has 684 votes. If we keep it moving, taking a look, actually we don't have any Jackson County results in. We're still awaiting Jackson County, but if we keep on moving ahead and take a look at some Gallia County, some votes, we take a look at the county commissioner race. We have 3 Republicans running, Lynn Engel, David Smith, and Roger Watson. And we have David Smith shown winning, and these are the unofficial final results for Gallia County. David Smith has about 1,782 votes. And if we take a look at the county treasurer race, finally, we have Republicans Tom Beaver and Republican Steve McGee running, and Steve McGee is shown winning. And again, these are unofficial final results for Gallia County. Alyssa, back to you.
All right, thank you, Andrew. We'll check back with you later this evening as well.